Hi, my name is Zach J, and I'm a tutor here at Chegg.com. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the fun topic of motor pathways, or as I like to know it, how your brain tells the rest of your body how to move. So it's rather an important pathway, and so let's get started. So the motor pathway, if you look at it from like a physiological standpoint or an anatomical standpoint, we really call it the corticospinal tract. And that is because we are taking things from the cortex of the brain and moving it to the spinal cord and then out into the periphery, into our muscles. Okay? So it's really called the corticospinal tract. So where does everything start at? Well, we said it starts at the cortex, but specifically in our brain, it starts at something called Brodmann's area number 4, or the Precentral Gyrus, which is right here in the brain. Okay, so that's where the majority, let's say, there are some other movements located elsewhere, but the majority of the movements your body makes start right here in your brain. Okay, and it's right in front of the central sulcus. So if I were to take this brain and then cut it kind of like this, and take a section out of it, like that, I get this picture here. And so that's basically this Brodmann's area 4 just cut across in this plane. Okay. So when I get this here, I can see that I have all this cortex on the outside, and that's where all of our muscle movements come from. And there's a specific orientation though, and for example, this area here is all pretty much your face. So a large proportion of your cortex for movement is your face, because we talk, you have to move your tongue. It takes a lot of cerebral processing to actually be able to do that. Likewise, we use our hands for lots of things. So this area here is your hands. And then everything that's left down through here will be the rest of your body. Now, you'll see here that the face, or the top of your body, is located here in the lateral aspect of the brain. And as you go around, you go lower. So your feet are down here in this central portion of this section. Okay. So now let's talk about how I move my hand. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out. Let's use blue, and I'm going to get a signal coming from the cortex here, corresponding to the location of the hands, and it's going to send a signal down through the brain, through something called the internal capsule, and down into the midbrain. And in the midbrain, these fibers run in this area here. Okay? And this area here is called the cerebral peduncles. Okay? And so that's where all of those motor fibers are going to be running. This other area up here, other things run in that, sensory things, but we're not going to worry about that since we're just talking about the motor pathway. Okay, and so we also have, so let's say you see here, this is on the right side, so this is actually going to end up controlling the left side of my body. Okay, so once we're through the midbrain, we then keep going and we drop down into the pons. Now the pons is called the pons because it actually is in communication with the cerebellum, or the little brain, which is responsible for a lot of making sure the movements we make are the right movements. And so some of these motor fibers here will get off and go up and go synapse in the cerebellum, just to tell it that, hey, we are going to make this movement. We want you to double check and make sure that we made the right movement once it's done. Okay, so a few of these fibers get off there. The rest of the fibers, the majority of them, keep going down. And here in the pons, you can see how they kind of all got discombobulated, right? Whereas in the midbrain, they're all nice and compacted. So here in the pons, we're all, these are called fascicles. And so they're all broken down. But once we get down to the medulla, these fascicles come back together and recoalesce in the pyramids, okay? And so they travel down the medulla in the pyramids. When it gets down to the very base of the medulla, the lowest part of it, there's a thing called the pyramidal decussation. And there, 85% of these axons will actually cross to the other side and continue down. Okay? So that's 85% of them will cross. And these will end up traveling into the spinal cord in this section here called the lateral lateral corticospinal tract. So let's go ahead and name that the lateral corticospinal tract. Okay. And from there, they will go to whatever level of the spinal cord is necessary to reach the target muscle. So in the case of my hand, that would be around, I believe, C5 level of your spinal cord. And so these will synapse here into the gray matter in the center. So we synapse here, the synapse, and then a second order neuron will then travel to the muscle that needs to be moved to something called the motor plate and synapse there. Okay, and this will cause an action potential at the muscle and cause a contraction. So action potential leading to a contraction, and you move your muscle. Okay, so pretty straightforward, really. You know, the hard part is getting all the different names down for these different pathways and what they do, but really it's a straight shot write down, and it just goes in synapses to the muscle. Now, I said 85% of your neurons, or of the axons, crossed here. What about the other 15%? So the other 15% don't decussate, and they actually travel down in this part of the spinal cord, and this is called the anterior corticospinal tract. Anterior spinal corticospinal tract. Okay. So these guys don't decussate, and these are different from the lateral because the lateral do like fine movements. So, you know, delicate movements like putting your finger to your nose. You know, very fine. You know, you want to touch just there. You don't want to just jab your nose. Okay. Whereas the anterior corticospinal do those rough movements. So like when you do push-ups or control the trunk, so your abdomen muscles. This is what the anterior corticospinal tract really does, those rough movements, whereas the lateral does more of the fine movements. So this pretty much sums up the motor pathway. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Chegg.com/tutors or any of the other tutors, and we will be happy to help you. I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.